All right. Good evening, esteemed colleagues. I'm so excited to be here with you tonight. I want to welcome you to our third session of Thursday Thought tonight. And I'm super excited about tonight because there's some really good stuff. And you don't have to listen to me go drone on and on for an hour this evening. So you're going to be super excited. I've got a super treat, certainly a treat in store for you. So as you all know, my name is Sarah Evanson Atkinson, and I serve as the Professional Learning Director for SCAMLE. But like you, I wear many hats, right? I'm an instructional coach, teacher, mom, sister, daughter. Apparently, I'm a master Zoom webinar doer because I've just done 2 back-to-back. I just sat in a training with our guest for tonight, and I was like, I can't believe I'm gonna. Oh my gosh, I'm like a master Zoom attender, as many of you are. So I'm super excited that you're here with us tonight. I do want to remind you before we start, again, this session is recorded for archival purposes so that our members can have access to really high quality professional development on their terms, which is super important. And we're lucky to have with us tonight on the call. So Dr. McDonald usually jumps on with us. Remember that he's our executive director. I think he's actually busy tonight. Can you believe it? He's got something better to do than hang out with us. What? But we are very lucky to have a couple of members of the board on, as well as the president himself, Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins, how are you tonight?
Doing very well. Excited to be here with everybody, and of course appreciate everyone for attending our session this Thursday. Of course, visit scamle.org for information about all of our offerings, and a special thank you to Sarah, our professional development chair, for coordinating all of this, and most importantly, Kyle Pearson, for giving up your time to share good information with us as we work for the benefit of our members. And just a quick plug, of course, for the conference that's coming up in March. Registration is open for that, as well as membership drive for those that are seeking membership to have access to our archive, webinars for resources and things that you need. And of course, for everybody, remember that we are operating on a 5-year strategic plan. And part of that was working intentionally to provide opportunities for our memberships beyond just the March conference. And so tonight is a manifestation of that, and we appreciate everybody's involvement with that. I know many of you on the call are from the Piedmont region, and I want to give an opportunity for our Piedmont region director to say hello. And I think there's an event coming up real soon for everybody to join and network and have a good time. So Jeremy, do you want to maybe share a little bit about that, or am I a little premature?
House. How are you doing, sir?
I am hanging in there. It's been a kind of a tough week.
Oh no, I hear sick. Don't share your germs on here tonight. Thank goodness we're on Zoom.
I will not pass through the screen. I promise. I'm hoping that I'm on the other side of all of this now, but thanks for the shout out, Jeff. Again, Jeremy Smith from Piedmont region. I'm super proud of my guy tonight. Going to be leading the session for us this evening. But in October, all of our Piedmont region people, you need to be getting with us at the 13 Stripes River Lodge. We are going to be doing a tailgate that night. We are going to be giving away a registration for the SCAMLE conference. We are going to eat some wings, and we're going to talk about some middle school stuff that is absolutely going to be game changing. So spread the word out there. Make sure that you and your colleagues are hitting us up at 13 Stripes River Lodge over there in Easley. And that's going to run from about 6 to 8 for us that evening. And we hope to see everybody out there. If you have any questions about that, please get with me, and I will get you all the information that you need.
Yeah, and by the way, Jeremy is sick right now. So now's the time to hit him up for anything. You need books, you need money, you need resources. Now's the time to get him because he can't say no. He's sick. Come on. I know that, guys. Come on. Sorry, Mr. Jenkins, I interrupted. He's so used to it. It didn't even faze him that I interrupted him.
No, we roll with it. Listen, I'm ready to get started with Kyle here. I just want to say again, thank you for everyone for joining. We are super proud that many of these sessions are brought to you by people in the field in the state of South Carolina from across the state. They give up their time, their energy, they're excited and passionate about what they do. And when we show up for them, it honors their work and commitment to students in our communities. So I appreciate everyone being here tonight.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Jenkins, for that shout out and for those free endorsements, free advertising. We do wish to say thank you to SCAMLE for their continued sponsorship of these Thursday night webinars. Nothing's free, guys. Nothing's free in this world. And so this is just an excellent opportunity. And by the way, I mean, it's super comfy to have PD from in your PJs, you know, like from the couch. I'm not gonna make you turn the camera on. I'm not all about that. All right, so today's work though, let's get right down to today's work. Today's work is an exercise in reflection and thinking. So remember that we cover a considerable amount of ground during these Thursday Thought webinars. So your job on the other side of that computer screen is to think and reflect deeply. Because in an hour-long webinar, are you going to transform your entire repertoire? No, probably not. Nobody's asking you to. But if we can tweak, tighten, and change even a very small micro piece of what we do, that will deeply change the rest. The ripple effect will ripple through the rest of what we do on a regular basis. So your job is just to think and reflect deeply, and hopefully you'll be able to take a morsel or two away with you in your pocket from tonight's webinar. So tonight's topic is fostering positive community relationships with our parents and families, making connections with families that are meaningful and productive. That is what our topic is. And now I said to you that I had a special surprise for you tonight, and Mr. Jenkins kind of let the cat out of the bag. That's okay. So this is the first webinar in this series where we get to have a guest, where I get to have a guest, so I can man the chat and make funny faces, because you know I'm sure Mr. Pearson loves that. So in a minute, I'm going to ask you to make him feel very comfortable. But our special guest tonight is Kyle Pearson, and I'm going to introduce him in just a minute. So what I want to do is I want you to drop into the chat, okay? I want you to drop into the chat. How would you currently describe your right now outlook towards school family communication and relationships in your school community, in your classroom, for yourself, okay? So how would you describe your current outlook towards school family communication and relationships? Drop that in the chat. All right, Desiree says positive and effective. Kyle says we strive to build positive relationships with all of our families. I'm going to underline all there for you. Lori says her current outlook is optimistic. She's trying to get positive feedback home now. Mr. Smith says necessary and ongoing. Absolutely, both necessary and ongoing. Absolutely. What else we got? Juanita says, I feel good about the connections I've made with parents so far this year. Parents are very appreciative. Juanita, you bring up a really, really good point. So here's the thing. If you haven't noticed, if you haven't reached out to your families and parents in large numbers, you will find that they are very appreciative that we are picking up the phone and that we are calling them in person. I worked with an instructional coach a long time ago, very early in my career. And I was having a hard day, and I went into her office and I was fussing, you know, just because I had a hard day. And I was fussing in particular about this one child who was she was bent on just derailing everything I was trying to do in the classroom. And the coach looked at me ever so quietly and said, Sarah, her mom doesn't leave the good one at home and sends you the rough one. She sends you the best she has. Talk about drop the mic for Sarah EA, okay? These are someone's babies that they brought home from the hospital and rocked to sleep at night and suffered through colic and teeth cutting and all of it. We have to be thoughtful about that. Just because they're big and they're starting to grow hair and they smell like Axe doesn't mean they're still not someone's baby. All right, so we have to be really thoughtful about that. All right, optimistic future at my school. Desiree says, establish the rapport, let them know you care, and your teacher heart will be happy and less stressed. Yes, absolutely. You know, Desiree, do you just want to do tonight's session? That's brilliant. Absolutely. All right, anything that we can do to lighten the load, we want to lighten the load. Let's see, what else did I miss? Stephanie says consistent. Consistency is so important with communication. Absolutely. Consistency is so important with communication. All right, so just in case your current outlook doesn't match some of the ones I just detailed there from the chat, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you, but I want you to reorient your thinking like this.
Assemble.
It's scary out there, y'all. It's scary. And when you call the mamas and the daddies and the grandmas and the aunts and the guardians, and when you call them and let them know that they're on our team, that you're on their team, that we all want every child to be successful, every single human who's under our care to be successful, they will appreciate that more than you will know. And you'll know they appreciate it because their behavior toward you will be so kind and so warm and so thoughtful that it will be convincing. The behavior will convince you alone. So tonight, I bring you something really special. I told you really special tonight. Oh goodness, there it is. Mr. Pearson's with us tonight. And guess what? I'm going to let him start his presentation here in a minute, but in his presentation and him talking to you tonight, Kyle, do you have arms? Because your picture doesn't have arms, but I think you have arms, friend, right? He's going to kill me. Where is he? Oh, you're muted.
I'm right here.
Famous last words.
I have arms.
Kyle.
Hands,
Look, he has
all
arms.
that.
He has arms. Brilliant. Okay. All right. So I'm going to turn it over. We are lucky enough with us tonight to have Kyle Pearson on board with us, and he is an administrator. Is that right? I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Tell us
Yes.
where you're currently serving, and what you do, and why this is of interest to you.
Sure. So first off, just thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to SEALME, all that. So Sarah has been great, and she's been making sure that I did what I was supposed to do, because as y'all know, we get busy and it's like, oh yeah, I am going to be doing this. But the biggest thing for me, I'm in my 4th year of administration. I'm an assistant principal at Dr. Finan Z.J. Fisher Middle School in Greenville County. Mr. Smith is actually my principal, and he's kind of a big reason why I'm even a part of this organization. So I really am a true believer in middle school, and I'm a believer in relationships. And I believe that, if you want to build those relationships, then, establishing those positive communication patterns with your parents and your families is just at a core. And if it's not at a core, then that's what this is about telling you how to make it a core belief of yours. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Can everybody see that? Okay. So I kind of made this, and this is not an exhaustive list or anything, but these are just kind of some things that, as I was thinking through, what makes effective family communication, I kind of did like, the who, what, when, why, how type deal, and I broke it down and put a couple funny pictures because I just like funny memes. That's just part of what I do. So for me, just kind of some background about me. I am I'm a Clemson guy first and foremost. I did get my master's from USC, but not a Gamecock fan. Respect the university immensely, but definitely a Tiger. So excited about this weekend's football. Been an administrator for 4 years in Fisher. 2 years at Fisher and 2 years at Malden High School. Love the transition to middle school, and I was a teacher for 12 years. And I think one of the things that makes me a little different than some administrators is that I taught for 12 years. And so I think that that really helps me kind of empathize with what teachers are going through as they navigate kind of this post-COVID world. And I'm also married to an elementary music teacher. I have 2 kids, including one at Fisher. So that's probably a much bigger, not probably, it is a much bigger challenge. So I really approach my role from a parent's point of view as well, which is another thing that makes this so important to me. So the first thing we need to do is we need to establish our why. So why do we communicate? What's the purpose in doing that? The first thing is trust. There are many families, some people may be naive to this, but there are many families out there that don't have prior, we'll call them good relationships with schools. Their only interactions that they ever have with a school is negative. And I'll kind of start out with a story. So yesterday, I had a student that it was reported that they had hit another student with a calculator. So I did the administrator thing, and I called the student in, and first thing she started doing, it was telling on herself about something completely unrelated to that. So I was like, okay, sit down, tell me more about this group chat that you and all your friends have, which was, I had no idea about. So we sat down and talked about the group chat. And then I got to the calculator thing, and she didn't even know what it was talking about. And it turns out that the student had named the wrong person, but that's beside the point. What I did is I pulled up her grades, and we were just kind of looking. I know she had really good grades. So I asked her, I said, well, how do you like Fisher so far? Because I'm working with 6th graders this year. And she said, I really like it. I said, well, what's your favorite class? And she said, well, design modeling with Mr. Byerly. And I said, oh, well, why do you like that? She said, I love the design modeling because I want to be an architect. And I was just like, okay, here we go. So she started articulating why she wants to be an architect as a 6th grader. And I'm thinking, wow, I would have had no idea how to do that as a 6th grader. So after I got done talking to her and everything like that, so what started out as something punitive turned into a really great conversation. So I just picked up the phone and called her mom. And her mom, of course, was reticent and like, okay, what did my child do? And I was like, actually, she did nothing. I said, I just wanted to call and, tell you how awesome your kid is, and how she went into how she shared that. And then this morning, the mom came in and we sat down and talked for another 15 minutes. So we have now built that relationship where inevitably, because they're middle school kids, she's going to mess up and I'm going to have to call her with something bad. But now we have that bond of trust that mom's going to go to bat for me if I need her to go to bat for me. And so that's just the thing that you've got to do. You've got to find that one thing that connects with those people. And then once you connect with the families, you've got the kid too, because the kid sees that you care about them because you're willing to make that positive phone call, because kids know they're going to mess up too. And then what I've done, because the mom told me that they've had bad experiences before at an elementary school. And so we've now repaired that harm. And so she feels the trust of Fisher. And so now for the next 3 years, as we go through that, she's going to remember this as the first interaction that we had. As a teacher, why do you do it? You need to let people know. We get emails as administrators all the time that, parents don't know what's going on. So when you send home those newsletters, those things like that, that lets them know. So my question for you is, if you'll kind of throw it in the chat, is what are some ways that you, as a teacher, administrator, what are some ways that you inform your families of what's going on in your school?
And while you all are processing and pondering, I do want to illuminate the point there that you made, Kyle, about repairing the damage, the harm that has been done by previous negative experience.
Mm-hmm.
I can't understate that. I should say I can't overstate the importance of that, because even if we've all been in the situation, and I'm going to use like a kind of a poor example, but for whatever reason it just comes to mind,
Mm-hmm.
is is this notion of like, okay, so we've dated somebody who was damaged, who had a bad experience in a previous relationship. And so they were a little leery to trust, or they were a little
Right.
slow to communicate, et cetera, in the relationship. And, part of the work that you have to do to build your relationship with that other human being is to repair the harm done. And I've never really thought about it in an educator context, frankly.
Yeah, and when the mom came in and met, it was really interesting because you could tell she was almost trying to justify why she was coming in, and I listened to her, but then after she got done, I told her, I said, ma'am, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, I'm never going to be upset with anyone that wants to come in and advocate for their child. I love that. I said, so if you need to come in and be upset, or you need to come in and talk and whatever, I said, just know, I said, we've got this relationship built now, and I said, that's what we're going to do. So I think that's important, is to be willing to listen more than you talk when you're meeting with parents.
For sure. So these are some of the ideas people have put in the chat. So
Okay.
teams send weekly newsletters home, and they send a postcard home each week to students that simply say, I'm proud of you because, and then the school mails it home. Lori says weekly emails to families, Gatorgrams to students, a brag board in our 6th grade pod. I love the brag board. I love you. Kids love to see their name in lights. They say they don't, but they do. They're big fat fibbers, and that's awesome. Mr. Smith says weekly s'more, emails, phone calls, lots of chats in the car line, social media, etc. Absolutely. Wherever people are comfortable. Sometimes people are most comfortable hanging out their car window and talking to you. That's just where they're
100%.
most comfortable. And so sometimes, and I think, Kyle, you've already touched on it, but this idea that, parents sometimes get nervous. They get nervous about what they get to walking into the school. Talk about baggage, y'all. They just are so scared just to come into the school, period. Like, put the period right there. And so maybe it's just easier in car line. Absolutely. I love communicating. Adrian's on the call tonight. Welcome aboard. I love communicating through phone calls and in recent years via text messages. Absolutely. Email, notes in their agendas, phone calls, Angela offers. Shirley says at the beginning of every semester or quarter, she emails the parents to inform them of what projects and performances their students are working on. And I think you also mentioned here too, it's so important for the parents to be in the know. If the parents know what's going on, they feel much more in control.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest questions we get is, how can I be involved? And so I think, like Mr. Smith mentioned, he does his parents more, and so teachers know that they can submit things to him to put in there, and we as administrators, like, we have our different roles and we submit things, and the PTSA submits things, and so there's always ways that we communicate with them, and the more you communicate, my next point on here is that it increases the parent guardian participation. And so if you've got someone and they're like, well, we all have, people in our building, they're not huge relationships people, right? They're like, I'm mainly focused on academics. Well, we know if we do the relationships first and my bullet points are built top down, like, this is what we should do first, second, third, fourth, then it's going to increase the academic success, because we know one of the biggest predictors of academic success in a student is parental or guardianship participation in their school life. Okay. And then if you do all that, then your school culture, what you've built, if you've got parents in the building, like we have our bird watchers, we have all kinds of different things going on. We have parents constantly in the building, and that helps build our school culture at Fisher. And if you look at the most successful schools, not only in South Carolina, but across the nation, they have high levels of parental involvement.
Absolutely. Desiree offers calls, send texts, emails, positive, and all those things are mostly about positive interactions with students. Juanita says making deposits now allows for later withdrawals. I agree, Juanita, well said. Angela says sometimes chatting and boarding is like really helpful. Let's see, sending an email to parents through Backpack with a positive note to let parents know how the students are doing. So all really great ideas. And if you're not doing some of those things, we could certainly add it to the repertoire, right? All those things I saw on there are free.
Oh, wait. Okay. Sorry. I think somebody was off mute.
There we go.
So now I'm going to kind of shift to the what I have here is positive notes. Now that could be written note, that could be a little postcard you send home, that could be a backpack message, that could be a phone call. Really, kind of whatever your comfort level is. But I think starting off the year, and it's still not too late because of where we are in the year. You've got to start off with something positive because nobody's bad at everything. Everybody's good at something. And so finding that one thing that kid, even that kid that everybody has in their class or in their school, find something positive that they do. And whether that's that car line message, I always say face-to-face or phone call is always superior, handwritten, overtyped, everything like that. So the more personalized you can make that, the better. But parents are going to appreciate anything that you take the time to do. I always, you notice my language in this is I'm trying to stay away from the negative. I'm kind of a believer in the power of positive. So I call them opportunities for growth because it's not really things they can't do, it's things they haven't done yet. So what are they, what are things that you can help them do? Academic successes, and then academic opportunities for growth, behavioral concerns. All of those things are you notice you start with the positive at the very top. And then behavioral concerns is 0.5, because all of those things you should have communicated at least once or twice something positive to that parent before they ever hear anything negative from you. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to support you much more often if you do that. I think Juanita was the one that mentioned it, but extracurricular activities or sporting events. Listen, I went to an AAU game last year, and I have never been to an AAU game. I didn't know where this thing was. I paid money to go to that, and I had some kids last year, and they were behavior problems all the time. Guess how many referrals I got out of those kids after I went to that AAU game? Zero, as in none out of 5 kids that I had gotten, probably over 20 referrals the entire year, because I took time on my Saturday to go to an AAU game. So the power of going to one of their sporting events or one of their extracurricular activities, it's tenfold what you can do. And then extra help and tutoring sessions, because obviously the academics, that's at the end, that's what we're judged by. So we definitely need to communicate all of those things. How do we communicate? So some of you have mentioned this already, but phone calls, the more personalized you can do it, the better. Notes home, newsletters, your website. I am going to show you an example in a minute of one of our Fisher Teams websites and how we do it. And then we're kind of going to talk about that in a little bit of a breakout session. Your syllabus, because that tells the parents what you're doing in your class. Emails. I put emails kind of far down, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge email guy. I feel like sometimes what I email out doesn't come across the right way. The teachers that work with me know I'm probably just going to come up to you and tell you. Even if you email me, I'm going to come tell you. And parents, a lot of them, like I had a parent who was upset about something. I called them. They were very calm, easy to get along with. We got it solved, no problem. Relationship's good. Everybody's happy. So emails, it as a last resort, they're fine, but I think you want to stick to the phone calls. Remind 101, I think that's good, or create a Google Voice account so that if you want to text parents or you want to do that, do it in a safe way so that that they don't have your personal number. Obviously, that just kind of protects you. Face-to-face conferences for parents that can, be flexible on those. Make sure. And then one of the things we do at Fisher is we do our students every 3 weeks, they actually send out their own progress reports. And I know this because I just got my son's, who's a 7th grader at Fisher, and it has a message, and the kids get a script, and they email out the script, and they fill in their grades and what they're most proud of and what their growth opportunities are, and has a little message on there, and they email it to both their parents. And then another thing, and this was initiative from Mr. Smith, is we do student-led conferences where the parents come in and the students actually have a portfolio, and they kind of quote, as Mr. Smith would say, they tell their story. And so the parents get to learn kind of what's going on in the school, how are they doing in all their classes, and they have artifacts that they show. So one of the things I would like for you to pop in the chat are what are some ways that you allow the students to kind of tell their story or communicate to their parents from school. And while you're thinking about that, this is just, I just threw this in there at the end. When do we communicate? And it's always over communicate. You want the parent to tell you you're sending me too many emails. You want the parent to tell you you're calling me too much. You want the parent to say, yeah, I mean, you did a great job. You send a newsletter and you call and you send the reminds, and man, I can't even keep up with it. You send so much. That's good. To ever say that I have no idea what's going on. And we all know, because we're in education, that the parent is going to try to default to, I have no idea what's going on. But at least if we can say, well, I did send the newsletter, and I send out my weekly emails, and I send a note home with your child, and they also send out their 3-week progress report. At least you have a leg to stand on. Show, communicate with them. So that's the biggest thing you want to do. And let me see what people are putting in the chat here.
All right, so I've got, let's see, Mr. Jenkins indicated a weekly Panther learning plan, listing NHI's items that haven't been handed in. Not handed in is what NHI stands for. Upcoming tests, sets, goals for the week. Students email this home, or an adult advocate in the building if there isn't an email to home option. Yeah, I really like the pathway. Kyle, anytime we can build a pathway for students who, don't have someone at home that is reliable to communicate. I really love when we can build pathways in for adult advocacy in the building. I was recently in a meeting and some of the teachers were talking about, oh, well, one of my students doesn't have someone to email. I couldn't find a good email address. I know they live with grandma. She's elderly. She doesn't have an email, that kind of thing. And we got to talking about the student, and they were like kind of really frustrated. And I said, well, I'm an adult and I have an email. And I think I could probably have a decent conversation with a child about, their plans and their goals and their hopes and their dreams. And they kind of looked at me funny, but when we think about every adult in the building has the potential to be an advocate if they're just asked.
That's correct. And the more you communicate, the more you open yourself the opportunities to get those parents, because as we know, the biggest struggle we have in education are the parents that we can generally get in the building are the ones we don't really need in the building.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So and a lot of times, guys, and I know this because my dad worked an hour and a half away. I lived in a rural part of Aiken, South Carolina, and my dad worked at Fujifilm in Greenwood, South Carolina. So he had to drive over an hour and a half each way, and he worked 12-hour shifts. It wasn't that he didn't want to be involved in my education. It's just he was working. And so a lot of parents, that we vilify, well, man, they never show up, they're never around. Well, maybe they're working. And so I think that we have to establish maybe non-traditional ways of communication for parents and guardians to allow them the opportunity, be flexible, have different times for open house. Maybe you have to do things on the weekend, whatever it takes.
Adrian just added that COVID introduced in his district, they use Microsoft Teams and the chat feature. And so students sometimes can in real time message their parents after getting a good grade or making a major accomplishment at school. And don't fear if your district kind of limits that. Please know that you can always, the phone works during the day. I've had kids text mom and say, hey, I'm in English class, right up with my English teacher, and I just got an A on my test. I'm so proud. All of that can work. All of that can work. And so don't feel limited by that, but I love that too. And Kanisha says, football practice is a great way to connect with parents. Amen. Amen to that. Football practice is a great place to find them. I love it.
Perfect. So, Sarah, I'd like to pull up our website and then kind of put people in groups if we could, and let me pull this up. So do they have access to the files, my folder?
Yes, I've already uploaded the link into the chat. I know some folks are joining us tonight via the car or whatever, so they may be less
Let
able
me
to
let me
kind of
just
see.
link
But yeah,
this
they
in
definitely
the chat.
can see. Yeah, they definitely can see that. Okay.
Okay, hold on one second. I'll just put this in here. That's the website we'll use, and what I want to give them is just maybe 5 to 7 minutes, I guess. I want them to kind of peruse this website, and I want you to do it as like a parent would do, right? So like you get a new sixth grader, you have a new sixth grader to a school, you've never been there, and this is the website that your teachers say, hey, we're going to communicate our stuff on this website. So you're a parent the first time and you go into this website blind. You've never looked at it. Obviously, most of you haven't looked at this website. And what I kind of want you to do in your groups is kind of come up with, 3 things you really like about this, three things that are, positives, and then 3 things that you think our teacher with them to the group.
Here we go. I was just stopping by to be a weird lurker. Sorry.
Mr. Smith was here and he just left.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, did you all bring up the website? Do you see some good things on that website?
Yeah, I'm from Fisher, so I know what the websites look
So you
like.
know what the website looks like. There you go.
Yeah, I love all the links that they have on there to like the school calendar, the student handbook, all the back. At the lesson tour, I know NRI means no red ink, but as a parent, I wouldn't know what that meant.
Mm-hmm. I like how there is a tab for absent assignments. That's neat. There's nothing there.
Are you able to get it?
Yeah, my internet, I have very slow internet. It's really slow here. It's.
You want what
It
I
may or
can,
may come up. Here it goes.
got it?
Yeah.
Have you all found some things on the website that you think work really, really well?
Yeah, Coach Goodman was talking about the lesson
Yep, and the treasure of Lemon Brown. I remember that story
I do too. I
very
love
well.
that story. I know that story too.
Yes. So you'll notice you can go to the specific team website or the specific actual
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Let's see here.
Hey, Sarah, I got kicked out for some reason.
See that? I'm putting you in a cool place.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Not very fun.
We were just talking about having when we used to have to run. These are like so much sharper.
I know we date ourselves when we talk about the good old days were like a year ago. Like, oh, how far we've come. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
Did you all see anything on the website that you liked? Because I saw some things I liked. Yeah.
Mhm.
I liked some lesson plans on there. I liked that. I know that people feel a weird way about lesson plans for whatever reason, but they can be really helpful for a mom and a daddy and a grandma who's trying to follow along.
Mhm.
And it gives them something to talk about. I mean, I guess that's my thing is like, I mean, we all know when you ask a child, what'd you do at school today? The answer is nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. And I mean, that's the answer. So if we can say, well, how's the project going in ELA and how you have a math test in 2 days, what did you do on the Kahoot today? I feel like those are targeted questions. At that point, you should be able to get a response. So
No, that's fire. And especially like if you're in a situation like with my kid, his ADHD is like strong with that one. So like by the time we get home and I'm like, hey bud, what'd you guys do in school? Like he legit is trying to remember and it's just like,
yeah.
so like I had some stuff where I could lean in and like, oh, you guys were doing something with continents. He's like, yeah. And then all of a sudden the story spills out, right?
Right.
And I can ask some questions. So we did a little like, can you remember the 7 continents? And so we kind of, you know, like little things like that just at dinner. So reinforce that is huge.
Yeah.
But if I didn't have something to prompt that, he was just like, he's like, dude, Dad, I held it together all day. Like, I'm gonna
Yeah,
need you
right.
just
Like I
to
need to run around in the circles really.
the
right.
squirrel is running and his tail's on fire. And so like, I got nothing for you.
I got nothing. I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
All right. Well, keep on browsing. I think we're going to pull it back in just a couple of minutes. Okay.
Yep. I think we're good.
All righty. All right. We're going to pull these folks back.
You gonna be,
Hold on 1 second. All right. I'm broadcasting and then I'll pull back. All right, Kyle. Well, welcome back. There's a few words. They're hopping back into the main room.
Okay.
So we have just a handful of minutes left in our time together. I'm really interested to hear about the feedback on the website though, because I enjoyed looking it over. I really did. Adrian and I were laughing because we recognized some of the stories that they're reading and we were like, oh, we were thinking back to when we were young.
Isn't that nice? I know, it's like a stroll down memory lane.
Yes. It was Throwback Thursday up in here. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
All right. Yeah, really interesting website. Did anybody else notice how one of the things that I noticed and I really liked was, and this was a conversation that I had in one of the breakout rooms, I think with Mr. Jenkins, was that people feel a certain kind of way about putting their lesson plans up there. But I really like the lesson plans because it allows me as mom to have a conversation that's targeted and purposeful rather than like, what did you do at school today? Nothing.
Right.
But instead I can ask like a really specific question, like how's that project going in ELA, or, oh gosh, are you ready for your math test on Friday? And so it allows me to ask really specific questions, which we know for adolescents is like, that's really powerful.
Right. And that's, and if you notice, the stuff is really written because what you see on the website is really for parents. The actual lesson plans, I mean, they submit those to us as administrators because, when we're going in and observing, we're looking for different things. But as a parent, I don't care about standard 7.2 any of that. I just need to know, okay, do you have any tests this week? What are you learning in social studies? Okay, you're learning about this. What are you doing in math? Okay, you're doing fractions. Do you have a quiz on Thursday? That's the type of stuff parents need to be able to go on because they're super busy. They go in, check 10 minutes, boom, know what you're doing. Like you said, it opens that dialogue, that conversation with your kid who's more likely going to say, yeah, I didn't do anything today. I was there 8 hours, didn't do anything. Was there any other feedback that anybody put in the chat or that anybody wants to say about the website? Positive, negative, anything?
Yes, please go ahead and you will take the opportunity to use the chat, or you can unmute if you feel more comfortable to offer Kyle some feedback on that website. I'm sure they'd love to hear both positive and constructive. I think it's always useful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know a constructive way. A lot of my students, especially ones with autism, the parents are constantly asking me, like, my son or daughter, they can't tell me what they did today at school. Like, they can't get it out of them. They can look on like the website or through that communication piece. They'll say, okay, you did this in school. And like you say, directed questioning, you will more likely get an answer from your child who's having trouble with that communication part.
Yeah, and that's an important point, and that's one of the things. Like when I meet with parents, I kind of will even coach them because obviously I've gone through this as a parent and just as an educator. Just these are the ways you can ask questions, and I think maybe expanding that reach. Maybe just like something as a newsletter, so not like here's some types of questions you can ask your kid at home. I think Lori put something in the chat.
Yeah, Lori said she thought it was really user-friendly. She's going to add her weekly HyperDoc to her website, and it links the slides and everything that we do, and certainly to help parents with that conversation. And she said she liked the tab for if students were absent, which I agree, because there's a lot of more especially with absence, it's a lot more fluid still than we might like. And the reality is like flu is a thing. Being sick is a thing. And so, and not just, there's not just COVID like floating around. So yeah, like if that can be a useful tool, because there's a lot of anxiety around that still for mom and dad. There's a lot of anxiety around absence. And so if they know, again, knowledge is power, right? So they have more control over, taking care of their child so they can adequately advocate and help their child to kind of recover from an absence from school. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things that parents do get concerned about, because especially, they have a mandatory quarantine period with COVID. And so we're forcing them to be out, but are we providing them the resources that they need to help their kid while they're out? Sure. Anything else anybody wanted to add before kind of close up my time? So in the folder that Sarah shared with you, there were a couple of documents that are articles from Edutopia, and basically they just kind of illustrate, this one, why is the positive call home worth the effort? And it goes through some different, bullet points and things like that on why, and then some different communication strategies to start your year right. And if you feel like you haven't really started that, it's only September 1st, and it still feels like July 1st outside. So you still have plenty of time. And I just threw in a syllabus template in there for you, so that if you're not sure, how to write a syllabus, or because I didn't know if there were any teachers that were brand new and they, didn't have, because when I first started, I had no experienced teachers to help me, and my mentor was, let's just say, less than helpful. So I kind of had to throw things together, and I think back to that first year, and those poor kids probably learned nothing. So I just kind of threw that in there.
No, give yourself a little bit of credit, Kyle. Yeah, but that folder is chock full of really cool resources. And remember, at the end of the night, I'll drop in any of the presentation slides and things into there as well. So if you want to share with a friend, you certainly have access to that. And all of the things in the folder are, we found online, or there are resources that we created or that we have access to. And so you are welcome to use those as you see fit. Absolutely. Also, I did drop in the chat for you the link to tonight's feedback form. So remember that your completion of the feedback form promises a certificate in your email inbox for PD credit. And I get to that fairly quickly when I remember. Sometimes my ADD comes in and I'm like, what was I supposed to do? But normally I'm pretty quick on the uptake. So I officially want to say thank you to Kyle Pearson for his time tonight and his effort putting together all of these resources for you. And I want to go ahead and I think we'll do final thoughts, and then we're going to send you on your way. How about that? Does that sound fun? All right. So again, where'd it go? Oh, I closed it. Oh, that's okay. All right. Okay. Give me just 1 second, because this is important. This is just 1 second. All right. So here's what I want to say. Here's what I want to say in my final thoughts. I heard a lot of really great stuff tonight. I want to say that. You're going, why is Sarah going so slow? Okay, here we go. It's because I want to watch the Avengers movie again. That's why. No, I'm just kidding. All right, here we are. There we go. All right. I'm going to skip ahead here. That's okay. All right, so I want to close us out with our final thoughts for tonight. So the big takeaways for me from tonight's session was really the single word of personalization. When we communicate with families, and when we talk to the people that they call family, which we know families come in all different sizes, shapes, etc. Personalization is key. They love their children. Right? Whoever it is that they call family loves them and values them and wants them to be successful more than anything else. And it's so important that we are very methodical and we are very intentional about building the team of folks who are supposed to advocate for these young people. So we have to be sure that when we build relationships with our families, that it's not built on an adversarial, I'm calling you, I'm attacking you, the children have done terrible things. By the time we get there, we should already know each other's names. We should already know each other's names. So really want to thank Kyle for his time and his insight tonight. Want to thank all of you for doing all of the things for children in South Carolina and learners in your care. I want to direct you to stay in contact with us. I want to thank you, I said, and also I want you please to complete the feedback form to receive your attendance certificate. There's all my contact information. You know that I respond very quickly, so if you need something, please be sure to reach out. Also want to direct you to www.scamle.org for all of our latest and greatest offerings in the PD world right now are listed on there on the website. Of course, Mr. Jenkins talked about the upcoming conference in March. We are looking for presenters. And so if you have a friend who maybe wants to hang out with me on a Thursday night webinar. Kyle, it wasn't that bad, right? It was pretty cool. It was pretty okay. Like
Yeah,
took
I
care of
enjoyed
you?
it.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So he endorses. And if you've got some people who need to come as attendees, or you've got some friends who need to present, send them my way. I'm happy to have either one with us joining up. Stay tuned to your social media for we are about to relaunch the SCAMLE podcast, Explore Ed. We're looking for we're looking to begin the next 20 episodes in our library. We actually were able to gather up 20 episodes last season, so we're looking for another 20. To enter them into your library for this season. And we want to be sure that you interact with us. We want to interact with you. We want to be a support for you. We want to be a resource for you. And we want to be sure that we offer you the support and the professional development when you need it, the right stuff at the right time, right, y'all? The right stuff at the right time. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time tonight. And remember, don't be a stranger. Don't be a stranger. Oh, and I almost forgot. I can't believe I almost forgot. And I clicked the stop share and I almost forgot. So next Thursday, Adrian Goodman is on with me, and we're going to be talking all things IEP. So if you've got some teachers in your building who have trepidation around reading the IEP, implementing the IEP, knowing what IEP stands for, they need to get on the call with Adrian and I next Thursday so that we can set the record straight. We can set the record straight on IEPs. Really important because we want to reach all kids. We want to reach all kids. All right, again, thank you for tuning in to SCAMLE tonight, and don't be a stranger.